What's up everyone, my name's Robbie, this is Robbie and Millenial, and today we're talking about the best investment books for beginners. So on my website, stockstreetblog.com, I asked 28 different money bloggers to share their favorite investment book for beginner investors. So honestly, some of the results were kind of surprising. I thought maybe one book would be mentioned by like 2 bloggers or maybe 3 bloggers, but that's not exactly what happened. There were 2 books that were suggested by 2 different bloggers each. One book was suggested by 3 bloggers, one series was suggested by 4 bloggers, and one book was suggested by 4 different bloggers. There's been so many books written about investing, honestly, I thought the variation would be wider. So these results have been on my website for a little while now, but I'm excited to finally put this on YouTube. You see, I remember how hard it was when I started investing back in the day, and I really truly think that reading a book is something that everyone should do. While I've learned so many different things on YouTube by watching videos, investing is one of those things that I do think that you should read a book about and not just watch a bunch of YouTube videos. There are so many great YouTubers in the investing niche, but there are some that, how can I put this, don't know what they're talking about. And that's a reason I think it's so important for you to read a book by a reputable author that's got a thesis, that's got a conclusion, that is something that's been adopted by a lot of different people and is considered to be a book that's great for beginners. Okay, let's figure out the best investment book for beginner investors according to 29 different money bloggers, and my suggested book will be at the end. Okay everyone, before we begin, let's all hit that like button so we get this video to be sent out to everyone on YouTube. So we're gonna go through all these books in alphabetical order, and if you're interested in purchasing any of these books, check the links in the description below. They're affiliate links, they'll support my channel, but they'll also take you to Amazon so you can purchase the book. Also, if you want to skip around, there are timestamps in the description below. Okay, so our first book on the list is suggested by Accelerated Fi. Their suggestion is A Random Walk Down Wall Street by Bernstein G. Malkiel. Accelerated Fi says, I chose this book because it's easy to think you can beat the market or believe that a fund manager out there can do it for you. It's tempting to think there's a shortcut to building wealth in the market, but there just isn't. This book was the best eye-opener to convince me to only invest in index funds and not screw around with my retirement money. I lost about $7,000 trying to beat the market by trading options, and it was a lesson that will stick with me forever thanks to this book. Moving on to the second book on our list is suggested by Physician on Fire. Physician on Fire suggests the book How to Think About Money by Jonathan Clements. They say about the book, in How to Think About Money, Mr. Clements demonstrates the importance of not only investing money wisely, but also spending money wisely and understanding the role of money plays in living a happy and fulfilled life. Alright, moving on to our next book by PF Geeks. They suggest the book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Rich from PF Geeks says, I've read a number of personal finance and investing books. One that I would absolutely recommend to beginners is I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. I've been reading through it recently and it's fantastic. I will say it isn't purely a book on investing, but it goes into automating your finances and setting yourself up to invest. So I haven't read this book, but I've heard a lot about it, and like Rich says, it's not purely for investing, but it is a great book about money if you're interested. Alright, so the next book on our list is by My Own Advisor. My Own Advisor suggests the book How Millennials Can Get Rich Slowly by William J. Bernstein. In 5 easy lessons, or as the author calls them, hurdles, you'll understand what pitfalls to avoid as an investor starting your investment journey now and decades into your financial future in order to grow your wealth over time. Okay, moving on to our next book on the list by Money Q&A. Their suggested book is Investing for Dummies by Eric Tyson. They say, Dummies books may seem a little juvenile, but not this one. Eric Tyson is a seasoned pro and one of the best investing/finance related authors in the Dummies series. He goes on to say that Eric Tyson walks investors through learning how to invest and aligning your investments with your goals. The book helps readers understand how to develop an investment strategy and manage your expectations. The book is about growing your investment portfolio the right way, slowly and steadily. Okay, moving on, we have a book from The Rich Miser, and their book is another Dummies book, and it's Investing in Bonds for Dummies. They say, on the bond side of investing, I like Investing in Bonds for Dummies. It's a great introduction to a topic that can be more complicated than it would initially seem. It covers everything from the very basics to more advanced subjects like building a bond portfolio. For For over 200 pages of information, I think it's a wonderful deal and resource. So the next book we have is suggested by Financial Pilgrimage, and the book is called Lifeonaire by Steve Cook. They say, I'll provide one that I haven't seen mentioned too often. It's more of a lifestyle book, but it was a huge motivator to get me more focused on investing and paying off debt. He goes on to say that Lifeonaire is an organization devoted to helping people live abundant, prosperous lives. Much like a millionaire possesses a lot of money, a Lifeonaire has a lot of life. Okay, so now we have a book that was suggested by multiple money bloggers, and this one was suggested by 3 different money bloggers. The book was suggested by Life and My Finances, Making Momentum, and Our Financial Path. The book suggested by these 3 bloggers is called Millionaire Teacher by Andrew Hallam. Life and My Finances says, Andrew Hallam does an excellent job summing up the earnings of mutual funds versus index funds, and is living proof that the lazy investor is a wise investor. Making Momentum says, the author breaks down the fundamentals of money management in an easy to understand and simple manner. Rooted in sharing actionable advice, the book is perfect for beginners looking to understand saving, investing, and financial independence. Our Financial Life says, this book shows how simple index fund investing and a proper investment methodology can help any middle-wage individual become a millionaire. Okay, so that book was suggested by 3 different money bloggers. The next one we have is suggested by Dollar Sanity. The book they suggested is One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch. They say about One Up on Wall Street, I'm sure most will say The Intelligent Investor, even Warren Buffett did, but in my opinion that book is outdated, incredibly long, and dry. As someone's first investment read, I would recommend One Up on Wall Street. Author Peter Lynch is a beast of an investor, and he's not proposing some get-rich-quick scheme. He gives you the keys to successful long-term investing success. I actually agree a lot with this advice. I definitely don't think that The Intelligent Investor is a book that any beginner should start reading as a first book. And so, Peter Lynch was a beast of an investor. He ran the Fidelity Magellan Fund for 13 years. And he had almost a 30% annual rate of return and over doubled the S&P 500 over that time. Okay, so moving on to the next book on the list, it's suggested by Adventures in Mobile Homes, which goes through the experience of using mobile homes as investments. Their suggested book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. They say about the book, this book changed my life. It taught me about passive income. Before reading this book, I had no idea there were different kinds of income. Next, we have a book suggested by 2 different money bloggers. This book was suggested by ESI Money and Time in the Market. The book they suggested is called The Bogleheads Guide to Investing by Lindauer, Larimore, and LeBoeuf. ESI Money says, since I'm a big fan of index funds and primarily use Vanguard funds, it's probably no surprise that I like a book highlighting the investment philosophies of Vanguard's founder, John Bogle. But even if I didn't like index funds or Vanguard, which some of you may not, I think I'd still like this book. Time in the Market says, I like it because it teaches the reader all he or she needs to know about investing in simple and easy to follow terms. It outlines a path to success, tells the reader exactly what they need to do to get there, and doesn't get bogged down in the details. And now we have another book suggested by 2 different money bloggers. This book is suggested by Fitz, Villafuerte, and Savvy New Canadians. The book suggested was The 4 Pillars of Investing by William Bernstein. Fitz Villafuerte says, the best lesson from this book, it's sometimes best to be boring about investing. And Savvy New Canadian says, it breaks investing into 4 main parts. The theory of investing, the history of investing, the psychology of investing, the business of investing. Okay, so the next suggestion is actually a series of books, and 4 different bloggers picked books in this series. And My Millennial Guide actually suggested the whole series as their suggestion. They said during his youth, billionaire investor Warren Buffett took his investment education so seriously that he read every book on investing in the Omaha Public Library, some of them even twice. They go on to say these books do a great job touching on value investing, dollar cost indexing, and passive indexing, and can help you get a basic understanding of what your investment strategy will be. Maplemoney actually suggests one of the books in the series called The Little Book of Common Sense Investing by John C. Bogle, and Maplemoney says, this book shows how simply tracking the market through index funds will outperform almost everyone who tries to beat the market. If you're buying actively managed mutual funds, you're trying to outperform in spite of higher expenses, higher turnover, and higher taxes. The Frugal Gene suggests another book in the series called The Little Book That Beats the Market by Joel Greenblatt. They say, I read the magic formula investing method called The Little Book That Beats the Market by Joel Greenblatt and thought his wit was delightful. It's good for investors because a lot of investing books come off a little dry and technical. I found this book to be a fun read. Now I'll actually say something about this book because I've read it and I think it's an amazing book. I think you should definitely read it. And by the way, Joel Greenblatt is a beast hedge fund manager and you should look into some of the stuff that he does. Now another book suggested by a money blogger in the Little Investment Book series is actually my suggestion, but we'll talk about that at the end of the video. So the next book was suggested by The Flawed Consumer. This book is called The Long and Short of It by John Kay. They say the book describes itself as a guide to finance and investing for normally intelligent people who aren't in the industry. It's a great guide for beginners as it assumes that you don't know a lot about investing and therefore steps out investing from start to finish in a comprehensive but user-friendly fashion. Moving on, the next book is recommended by Think Save Retire. The book they suggested is called The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko. They say, I do have a favorite money book, but it's not necessarily just about investing. They go on to say that it talks about how most millionaires look, act, and walk just like the rest of us. They aren't necessarily driving around expensive BMWs or other European imports, wearing $25,000 Rolex watches, and sporting $2,500 suits. Now I'll say something about this book because I have read it and it is a great book. I really enjoyed it and I think you would probably too. But the book is less about investing and more about money and your perception of who actually is wealthy and who isn't. So let's move on to the next one by My Money Wizard. The book they suggested is The Only Investment Guide You'll Ever Need to Know by Andrew Tobias. Topics range from the basics of saving money all the way to covered call option trading. And everything's written in a down-to-earth and at times hilarious way. Plus, Mark Cuban credits his success to the book. Our next book was suggested by 4 different money bloggers, which makes it our most suggested book. The book was suggested by Budgets Are Sexy, Can I Retire Yet?, Financial Panther, and Spill Spot. The book they suggested is called The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. Budgets Are Sexy says, I'd go with J.L. Collins' The Simple Path to Wealth, not only because it covers my own personal favorite investing strategy of index funds, but also because it covers how it all fits into life and money in general. Can I Retire Yet says, his writing simplified investing for me and made it accessible. It isn't the only investing book you should read, but it is the first one I recommend to everyone looking to get started. Financial Panther says, I seriously think it's a life-changing book for new investors. If you're only willing to read one investment book, this is the one to read. Follow what it says and you'll do better than most people in life. Spill Spot says, in the book, Jim clearly lays out the steps to how to start building wealth through passive index fund investing. This is a great option for any investor, beginner or advanced. The book talks about the how and why for putting this investment strategy into place. Okay, moving on to our next book, it's suggested by Money Ahoy. The book they suggested is Wealth by Virtue by Chad Gordon. They say this is a book for beginners about many different topics related to wealth, risk, and taxes. I just finished reading it and it's fantastic. Next we have a book suggested by Michael Dinish from Your Money Geek. His suggestion is Whatever Happened to Penny Candy by Richard J. Maubury. He said, it's the first business book I ever read and really spurred my love of economics. Okay, so the last book is a book that I recommend called The Little Book of Value Investing by Christopher H Browne. Now, if you've watched any of my videos, you probably realize that I do like to pick stocks and I'm not just necessarily a passive index fund investor. I do think index fund investing is perfect for a lot of people out there. But I do think there's a lot of people out there who are looking to try to figure out how to pick stocks. At the time when I read this book, I was actually a financial advisor and I had been one for about 3 years. And even though I was a financial advisor, for those first few years, I didn't quite make all of the connections that I needed to completely understand picking stocks and understanding the stock market in general. So this is it. This is the book that helped me understand that stocks sell for prices and that there are different prices that you might want to pay for a stock and how to figure out what price that might be. The book doesn't go into grave detail like how to calculate intrinsic value. It just paints a broad understanding that stocks sell for prices and that finding stocks that are selling below a price that you think it should sell for is what you want to do when you're picking stocks. It also explains it in a value investing methodology, which is what Warren Buffett considers himself and what I consider myself as well. And this may be the book that helped me understand value investing, and that value investing is the style of investing that I'm most comfortable with. So if you want to learn about investing and value investing specifically, I think that this is the book for you. So even if you're not specifically interested in value investing, I do think that this book is a great book for any beginner starting out in the stock market. So thanks everyone so much for watching. I hope you found some books that you might be interested in reading going forward. Again, remember that there's affiliate links in the description below if you want to go ahead and purchase any of these books. Before you go, please hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more content similar to this. And before you go, if there's any books that you think that we should include, leave a little comment, let us know. So thanks everyone for watching, and please watch another one of my videos by clicking on the end screen that's coming up right now.